All right. Well, welcome everybody. And my name is Janie Maxwell, and I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Farmers Market Association. And before I introduce Libby and we get started with that, I just wanted to briefly talk a little bit about the Illinois Farmers Market Association. Do you guys see Zoom or do you see the Farmers Market Master? It's not cooperating. Okay. Anyway, the Illinois Farmers Market Association is very pleased to present this series of webinars. We call it our Farmers Market Master Series, and it's being sponsored by the Illinois Farm Bureau. So the Illinois Farmers Market Association, we work to support local food and farmers markets by giving producers and vendors and market managers the information and training they need to be successful and to help everybody take their business or their market to their own next level of excellence. We do this a lot by providing training and resources and connections. Oftentimes people just need connections to the right people to make their next step. We are also very pleased that we're going to be partnering with the University of Illinois Extension and the Illinois Department of Public Health and offering a 3-part food safety summit. So whether you're a vendor at farmers markets or whether you are a farmers market manager or a member of the local health department, we have a pre-season refresher for everybody on farmers market food safety. We also have a great resource page at ilfma.org. And this is just a couple of the things that are on there, but I highly recommend that you go check out the resource page at ilfma.org. And just quickly, just to get it on your calendar for 2027, hard to even say, we already have the date for our next Everything Local conference, and it will be January 27th through the 29th in 2027. So we are very excited about that conference. And if there are things that you think should be part of the conference, we would love to hear from you. We start planning the conference in June. So please let me know if there's any comments about last year's conference or things that you'd like to look forward to for next year. So I'm very pleased today to introduce to you Libby Irvin. Libby and her husband Derek own and operate Glacier's End in Southern Illinois. But one of the things that I love most about Libby is she is the president of the Illinois Farmers Market Association, and she's also the assistant director of FoodWorks down in Southern Illinois. So I'm going to turn it over to Libby, and you can tell us a little bit more about yourself as you go through this.
Hello. Thank you, Janie. Can everybody hear me okay and see me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I've had a little technical difficulties this morning, so I do apologize. As Janie said, my name's Libby Irvin, and my husband Derek and I own Glacier's End. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and pull up my presentation.
You can see it.
Maybe. Weird technology day to day.
Exactly.
Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so as Janie said, my name's Libby, and this is my husband Derek here. And we are Glacier's End. We're down here in Southern Illinois, value-added business. And this is really just kind of talking about scaling up and the process that we did. And one thing I'd like to everybody to keep in mind is this was kind of our path. Definitely does not have to be your path, but it's kind of some things to keep in mind when you're thinking about how to scale up and kind of why. So A little bit kind of about us. We started farming and our business in 2017. We moved down here to Southern Illinois from Chicago to take over my husband's grandfather's farm. We planted an orchard and then realized it was going to take about 7 years for our trees to mature. So we kind of started thinking about how can we make this a business and what do we do with the farm? We were introduced to cottage food and really kind of just found our interest there and started going with that. We are focused on growing specialty crops. So the main thing that we grow on our farm is elderberry. And we also use kind of native and invasive fauna from our farm and then also source from other farmers throughout Southern Illinois. Like I said, we started off as cottage food and sold at local farmers markets, and fairs and festivals. And we'll talk a little bit about how we started growing from there. But now we're kind of a farm to shelf agribusiness. So we have a brick and mortar retail store here in Marion. We continue to sell at farmers markets, fairs, festivals throughout the state, and online. We currently produce infused and shrub drinking vinegars, hot sauces, pickles, jams, jellies, butters, syrup, seasonings, and then, like I said, elderberry is our main product that we grow. So some kind of key takeaways to think about today is why and how you want to grow, making sure that growth is sustainable so you can continue with your business, and then to do your research as well. So kind of everything we'll be talking about will be hitting these bullet points. This is a picture of Derek and and I think I'll show it here too. So when we first started with cottage food, there was only a handful of things that could be done at that time, and it was limited to farmers markets. So we really got involved with the Illinois Stewardship Alliance, who is behind policy and advocating for small businesses. And we worked to help revise the cottage food bill. So it expanded where things could be sold and what could be sold. And we were awarded with their first local changemaker awards. So this is a picture in the top left of us at the state fair for the work we did. Derek was very involved with the kind of language in the bill. And then I was able to present virtually to the Senate about the importance of farmers markets, cottage food, and expanding it. But really, the first kind of thing that I want to stress is just the importance of getting involved. All of these businesses and organizations have been instrumental in helping us grow, helping us figure out and navigate these different paths. So FoodWorks is who we first took our Farm Beginnings program with and learned about cottage food. As Janie mentioned, ILFMA has been instrumental in helping with farmers markets, always on meetings for cottage food, for advocating and expanding it. Farm Bureau has been great as well. And then I think a big important thing is developing and having a good relationship with your local health department. We talk to them throughout the cottage food process and even now about things we can and can't do, and if we have questions. Health departments can sometimes be tricky to navigate their paths or their channels, but if you have a good relationship with them, it's going to make everybody's life a lot easier. The picture on the right is when we were working with the Stewardship Alliance about expanding the bill. Our picture and products are actually on the bill. So you may see some pictures and things like that from back then. But that was just really around the work we did with them. So again, getting involved, learning what's out there, what's needed, how to make changes is really, really important. Some certifications and kind of things that we have found helpful along the way. Again, working with the local health department. Looking at that cottage food guide as we started to think about scaling up of things we could do and how we could do it. We have the complete guide to home canning. And then on the left is the preventative controls manual. This is something that will be needed if you're moving into scaling up and moving into wholesale. We are not quite there yet, but we have started implementing all these practices in place so that we know them now and we have that when we're ready to go wholesale. And again, I can share this presentation with Janie later for anybody, and I'll have our contact information at the end. So our path to growth, again, we started our first farmers market was in 2018 as Cottage Food, and that's the picture up here in the right. This is our first farmers market we ever did, and I think we had two products. The difference now is we have about probably on any time 40 different products and variations on the shelves and probably have over 100 different things that we offer. We then started doing kind of fairs and festivals as it expanded. We built a farm store during COVID when that hit because we lost access to several of our farmers markets. We then found a commercial kitchen and retail shop at the end of COVID. And now we have our brick and mortar here in Marion, has a commercial kitchen and a retail store. And then we're doing several different collaborations. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But this has just been our path as we've kind of moved. I just always like to include pretty pictures. The bottom one is one of our first elderberry patches. The top is about a year later, just showing the different growth of it. So why we started thinking about scaling up, we really started reaching capacity in our home kitchen under Cottage Food, and what we could make. So we were finding that our batches needed to be more. We also really just wanted our home back. It started to feel like a manufacturing facility in our home, and we really wanted to kind of take back our space. We were also seeing a greater demand for our product. Um, we used and continue to use farmers markets to build up our local customer base and really get people's kind of input and feedback on our products. Um, Fairs and festivals, our kind of mission from the beginning was to do some farther away. So we do stuff on the way to St. Louis. We do a lot of stuff in Springfield. We do a big fair and festival outside of Chicago. We've started doing some pop-up Chicago farmers markets. And really, the goal for this was to build up a customer base kind of farther away. And then we have set up sales avenues for online. And we're really seeing that now. These customers that we have from these other farther away things are reaching out to us now. Um, Other reasons why we started thinking about scaling up is I think when people first start out, you just kind of start figuring things out as you're doing them and kind of growing. We started to stretch the value of our ingredients. So we were able to use ingredients in multiple ways. Examples are with our elderberry, we press it, we juice it, we turn it into a syrup, and then we had this pulp that we weren't using. Now we figured out how to make 1 to 2 more different products with that pulp. So that was something that was being discarded, but now we figured out how to add value to it. So that really started helping us to increase kind of what we were doing. We also started thinking about visibility. Our farm is kind of in the middle of nowhere. Lori on the call actually lives right down the road from us. But it's just not the greatest spot for a farm store. So we knew that we wanted something more visible, and something that had maybe more access to resources like in a city versus rural. Some other things kind of that we started considering when we were thinking about expanding, is we knew there were going to be increased expenses. When we were cooking in our home kitchen, we knew, we didn't have a lot of overhead. When we started thinking about either building or renting, we knew there would be costs associated with that. There would be increased utilities. We would probably need more equipment, more insurance. Um, One thing I really want to stress is you don't have to do everything at once, and you don't have to throw a bunch of money at what you're doing to grow. Um, we saw pretty early on when we started, there was about three different businesses that in between kind of the year 3 and 5 marks really started to see growth and started putting a bunch of money. Somebody built an on-farm store, bought a bunch of equipment. Um, and because they grew too fast, they were not able to sustain that growth, and they actually went out of business. And this really terrified us as we were new coming into business and doing these things and liked the path that they were on and saw them going out of business. So we kind of said to ourselves right then, like, we really want to try to do this without going into debt. And we want to do it so it's sustainable growth and we can make sure that this is going to be lasting for us. Um, so again, when you're thinking about these utilities, equipment, insurance, look to see for like grants and funding. There's the LFIG grant that's open right now through the Department of Ag. Highly encourage people to look into that because that is what this is for, is kind of infrastructure and growth. Um, we did receive an RFSI grant from Department of Ag here last year that has helped us to buy more equipment. We bought a commercial refrigerator, a commercial freezer. We're starting to piece together canning lines. So we kind of started thinking about like, what's our next step for growth now? What do we need to do that? So again, you can look for grants and funding. Um, Staff, if you're doing more markets or a store, you're going to need more people. It used to be just my husband and I doing two farmers markets, and we added a third one, which meant we had to add somebody else. So we found some friends, somebody that's now an employee that has helped us. Um, it's great having more people, but again, comes a lot more expenses and kind of knowledge about how that works. Other considerations for expansion, regulations. And I'll talk about this more, but at some point you're going to change from local health departments to the state. So keeping in mind what those things could look like. And then also for expansion and safety. If you're doing more, if you're having more equipment, you just need to be aware that there's going to be more safety measures and precautions that you need to take. Picture wise, these are the top one is when COVID hit, we built a little farm store in our garage. We just kind of partitioned off one section of our garage with like burlap bags and moved some shelves and cabinets out there. It actually looked pretty nice. And this was kind of one way that we started to scale up. And we were thinking about building on our farm, and I'll talk about why we chose not to do that. But this was one way that kind of helped us starting to ease into that. The bottom is farmers market, just how we've expanded from the first image I showed you with two products to kind of where we're at now. So the process for us for expansion into a commercial kitchen. So like I said, we were initially starting to think we wanted to do something at home. We were looking at turning our garage into a commercial kitchen because we already own the property. And we thought that that might be a cheaper option. Really encourage you to talk to local health department for guidance. And also local municipalities and building codes departments for regulations and guidance, because all of this can be help influence your decision. And then I recommend also talking to others that have gone through this process that you're thinking about. When we were looking at building out our garage, I had talked to a couple other people, and there wasn't a lot of people that had done it down here by us. Um, but especially when we had somebody come out to look at like electrical and things, what we thought in our mind was a certain number, we quickly realized was at least going to double. And I've talked to a few people that have built on their farms, and they said that it's anywhere from double to triple what they thought it was going to be. Um, so the reason we really ultimately decided to do off farm versus building on our farm was that cost, that initial upfront cost. Where we're at now, we rent. So over time, we will probably have made that up versus what it would have cost to build on our farm. But we also really took into mind, like I said, that location, visibility, and accessibility. We knew we just would not get the foot traffic or people coming out to Johnson City, Illinois versus Marion. Where we have our shop at now, it's just right off the downtown square, and they've really done revitalization. So we have a lot of foot traffic and a lot of visibility. We also started looking at privacy when we had our little on-farm store during COVID. Even though we posted what our hours were, we had signage up. We had people coming to our farm at all hours of all days, and decided we really did not want that. And then, like I said, just really having more access to resources in a city versus rural. Some kind of limitations that we have where we're at now. Um, and this is why I really recommend talking to your local municipalities and building codes department. Our building was a restaurant before. There was a commercial kitchen here, but there was not a hood, a vent, or a sprinkler system. So they would not let us bring in a stove. We could not cook on it. The way we cook and can is on a stove. So we quickly ran into issue number one. Um, we ended up finding out about induction burners and were able to talk to our codes department. At first, they were not open to this, but we had to work with them and kind of give them educational resources and information. And finally, they allowed it. But because our building does not have a sprinkler system in it, we could not have all these other things. We looked into them. It would probably be close to $100,000 to add all these things to our building. We don't own it. So, and our landlord is not open or interested in putting these things in place. So again, we had to kind of be creative to figure out what we were going to do. Um, Another kind of limitation we have currently is since we are not yet wholesale, we do have limitations to where we can sell. Bars and restaurants can use our products as ingredients. They cannot sell it. We cannot have our stuff in other people's stores or shops. So we have a retail store here in the front of our commercial kitchen where we sell, and then we can still do fairs, festivals, farmers markets, and online. But again, we have kind of restrictions of how that works. Um, this is a picture of our shop here. We have painted the outside and tried to make it kind of unique because we do the locally sourced and we're still kind of related to our farm. We wanted to bring in green. Again, it's something different that really stands out down here. And it's something that we've kind of made our own. Um, so some things that have helped us to, when scaling up, was just really focusing on local. So we try to grow as much as we can from our farm, but we're finding it harder and harder to grow the more that we grow and do. And somebody had told me when we first started out that was kind of doing cottage food and value added and growing. They said at some point there will be a tipping point between growing and making, and you kind of, one will outweigh the other. And we really kind of found that at about year 4. when we were looking about building either a farm store, commercial kitchen, or moving somewhere. So like I said, I think we're going on year 8 right now. So we've been in our new place. It's not so new anymore. Into our commercial kitchen for 4 years. But now we just really grow the things we cannot find or the things we really want. And then all the other things we try to source from local farmers. Um, so like I said, looking for local farmers can really help you when scaling up. I really encourage working directly with them at farmers markets and or through distributors that source locally. That has helped us to get more ingredients to be able to make more. Also, purchasing local ingredients helps farmers nearby. That's strengthening, the economic foundation of local communities. And sourcing during the growing season really helps for preserving ingredients for later usage. Before we got our recent grant, I think we had about 12 different chest freezers because we're getting all these ingredients spring, summer, and fall that we can then freeze and use throughout the year. Environmental sustainability. Choosing local ingredients really kind of minimizes transportation and just makes it a better choice for us and for everybody. So, again, focusing on local has been really one way that we can start scaling up. Um, when also thinking about scaling up, I really encourage all small businesses to really kind of do assessments and review every year. And I always say I'm kind of a numbers nerd, so I like tracking things. So I track our sales daily. I track it year over year. That way I can go back and see what sold, what didn't, why was today a bad day, or any trends that can kind of help make informed decisions. Um, and then assessing too, what markets or events are working or aren't. What are our expenses? What's selling where and when, and that helps us to kind of set goals. Every year I'm setting a new goal, like this is what we want our sales to be. But when looking at that, then I'm also looking at our expenses. What are our ingredients? What are our supplies? And those are always our biggest costs. So I'm really looking to see where can I kind of cut back on those to increase our margins, which again ties back into everything of helping grow and helping sustain that growth. Um, an example is one of our biggest expenses has always been our glass. We have used really cool and unique bottles that kind of look like flasks, kind of apothecary looking, but they are pricier. We've ran into a few different times, one during COVID and then one due to tariffs, where we could no longer get these bottles that we used. So that made us forced our hand to kind of look for different glass options. And as a result, we've cut a large part of our glass cost out. We've reduced it by about a third. Um, so what we thought was something was going to be an obstacle and not a great thing turned into something really has saved us a lot of money. So that was, another way that we were able to grow, but to make sure that it was going to be sustainable because we're reducing our expenses and helping kind of increase our profit margins. So kind of where we are now. So like I said, we are in a commercial kitchen and retail space. We host meetings in our space, and this is something we're kind of new and learning about, is we have the space that's not always being used. So we do field days, trainings. We have a group of art ladies that come every other week and do an art class here, and that we provide a little lunch for. We host legislative events. We're going to start doing a monthly kind of sip and learn class on different topics, educational things. We do farm to table dinners. We do festivals. We had a pickle fest this past year that was a huge success. So we're really going to try to lean into these things that make us more unique and that we're finding that aren't really out there. Collaborations, I counted, we currently have 7 bars and restaurants that are using our products or ingredients in their products. And then, like I said, we do further reach fairs and festivals because where we are in this great area of commercial kitchen, we can sell outside of Illinois too. So we've started doing some festivals in Tennessee and different states. Kind of looking at what's next for us, we are working on wholesale. We're also looking at having a couple of our main products produced through a co-packer, which is something that we're excited for, but I'm a little scared for. I've heard some stories about it takes a while to find the right recipe, finding the right co-packer, but that is something we are looking into. And then we are starting to piece together our own canning line. With the recent grant that we got, we did buy one piece of equipment, a bottle filler, that will be a piece of this canning line. So we'll be looking for probably in the next year or 2 years, another location that will be where we process our stuff. And then we'll still keep this location here because of the visibility as our storefront. We're also looking at more collaborations. We have a hot sauce we're working on for 3 breweries, some sauces, custom drinks for different bars and restaurants. These are just a few pictures of inside our store, some of our products that we make. And then the Illinois Made, we did receive that distinction. It's based on tourism. We got that a couple years ago, so that has been a really unique and kind of driving thing for us that helps us to get discovered a little bit more by people around the state. So that is kind of it in a nutshell. I've got our contact information up here if anybody ever wants to reach out or we can be of any help. I'm going to stop sharing now. But I guess just wanted to see if anybody had any questions or feedback or comments or anything.
I'm sorry, can I get your contact information again? I wasn't able to write it down for you.
Yep, let me
Shared.
pull it up here again real quick.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
There you go. And this is on our website.